Hello, I am a scholar of the teachings of Master Kong Qiu, the Chinese philosopher who lived 2,500 years ago, better known as Confucius in English. In this video, I will share my favorite sayings from the Analects, the ancient Chinese book that is the primary source for Confucius's sayings and the sayings of his students. Join me now in reciting them in the presence of this celestial dragon before us. Is it not pleasant to learn and to practice what one has learned? Is it not delightful to have friends visit from afar? Is he not a man of complete virtue who feels no discomposure though others take no note of him? The master said, "A wise man never goes on eating until he cannot eat any more. He is diligent in business and cautious in speech. He associates with those who possess the way and thereby corrects his own faults. Such a one may indeed be said to have a taste for learning." The master said, "Do not grieve that other people do not recognize your merits. Your only anxiety is lest you should fail to recognize theirs." The master said, "If out of the 300 works in the book of poetry I had to take one phrase to cover all of its teaching, I would say, 'Let there be no evil in your thoughts.'" The master said, "At 15 I set my heart upon learning. At 30 I stood firm. At 40 I had no doubts. At 50 I knew the commands of heaven. At 60 I heard them with a receptive ear. At 70 I could follow the dictates of my heart. For what I desire no longer oversteps the boundaries of what is right." The master said, "Look closely into his aims. Observe the means by which he pursues them. Discover what brings him content. And can the man's real worth remain hidden from you? Can it remain hidden from you?" The master said, "He who, by applying his knowledge of the past, is able to interpret what is new, is truly fit to be a teacher." The master said, "A wise man is not a tool." Zigong asked about the truly wise man. The master said, "He does not preach what he practices until he practices what he preaches." The master said, "A wise man can see a question from all sides without bias. A small man is biased and can see a question from only one side." The master said, "He who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in great danger." The master said, "He who sets to work upon a different strand destroys the entire fabric." The master said, Shall I teach you what true knowledge is? When you know a thing, to recognize that you know it, and when you do not know a thing, to recognize that you do not know it, that is knowledge." Duke I asked, "What can I do in order to get the support of the common people?" Confucius replied, "If you raise up the straight and set them upon the crooked, the commoners will support you. But if you raise the crooked and set them on top of the straight, the commoners will not support you." Jikangzi asked whether there were any forms of encouragement by which he could induce the common people to be respectful and loyal. The master said, "Approach them with dignity, and they will respect you. Show piety towards your parents and kindness towards your children, and they will be loyal to you. Promote those who are worthy and train those who are incompetent. That is the best form of encouragement." The master said, "I do not see what use a man can be put to whose word cannot be trusted. How can a wagon be made to go if it has no yoke bar, or a carriage if it has no collar bar?" Zizhang asked whether the state of things 10 generations in the future could be known. The master said, "We know in what ways the yin modified ritual when they followed the way of the Xia. We know in what ways the Zhou modified ritual when they followed upon the yin. Hence, we can foretell what the successors of the Zhou will be like, even supposing they do not appear until 100 generations from now." The master said, "To see what is right and not do it is cowardice." The master said, "High office filled by men of narrow views, ritual performance without reverence, and mourning performed without grief. These are things I cannot bear to see." The beauty of a community comes from the benevolence of its people. If a man finds a place where benevolence is found, and yet still does not desire to live there, how can he be called wise? The master said, "Without benevolence, a man can neither endure adversity nor enjoy prosperity for long. The good find contentment in benevolence. The wise understand its benefits." The master said, "He whose heart is in the smallest degree set upon benevolence will dislike no one." The master said, If you hear the way in the morning, in the evening, you can die content. The Master said, a wise man in his dealings with the world has no fixed loves or hatreds, but wherever he sees what is right, he aligns himself beside it. The Master said, one should not mind not being in office. His only concern is whether he has the qualities that qualify him for office. One should not be concerned with gaining recognition, but only to be busy doing things that entitle him to recognition. The Master said, the wise man is concerned with what is just, while the small man is concerned with what will profit him. The Master said, in the presence of a good man, think all the time how you may learn to equal him. In the presence of a bad man, turn your gaze within. The Master said, a wise man covets the reputation of being slow in word, but prompt in deed. The Master said, true virtue never dwells alone. It will always bring neighbors. XIII said, in the service of one's prince, repeated scolding can only lead to disgrace. In friendship, it can only lead to estrangement. XIII used to sleep during the day. The Master said, rotten wood cannot be carved, nor a wall of dried dung be troweled. What use is there in my scolding him anymore? XIII said, what I do not want others to do to me, I have no desire to do to others. The Master said, oh, XIII, you have not quite gotten to that point yet. The Master said, there is a saying, a wise man helps the needy. He does not make the rich richer still. When Yuan Si was made a governor, he was given an allowance of 900 measures of grain, but he declined it. The Master said, surely you could find people who would be glad of it among your neighbors or in your village. Ranqiu said, it is not that your way does not commend itself to me, but that it demands powers that I do not possess. The Master said, he whose strength gives out collapses in the pursuit of the way, but you deliberately draw the line. The Master said, who expects to be able to go out of a house except by the door? How is it then that no one follows this way of ours? The Master said, when nature prevails over culture, you find the manners of a boorish rustic. When culture prevails over nature, you find the manners of a pedantic clerk. It is only when nature and culture are appropriately blended that you find a truly wise man. The Master said, to prefer the way is better than only to know it. To delight in the way is better than merely to prefer it. The Master said, the wise man delights in water, and the good man delights in mountains. The wise move, but the good stay still. The wise are happy, and the good secure. The Master said, how transcendent is the power of the golden mean. For a long time, its practice has been rare among the people. The Master said, the thought that I have left my character untended, my learning unperfected, that I have heard of righteous men, but have been unable to meet them, or that I have heard of evil men, but been unable to reform them. It is these thoughts that disturb me. The Master said, I, for my part, am not one of those who have innate knowledge. I am simply one who loves the past and who is diligent in investigating it. The Master never talked about ghosts, supernatural powers, confusions of the mind, or supernatural beings. The Master said, one who is by nature daring and is suffering from poverty will not long be law-abiding. Indeed, any man but the truly benevolent, when they experience great suffering, will be likely to rebel. The Master said, if a man has gifts as wonderful as the Duke of Zhou, yet is arrogant and stingy, all the rest is of no account. The Master said, be of unwavering good faith, love learning. If attacked, be ready to die for the good way. Do not enter a dangerous country, nor choose to live in one where the people have rebelled. When the way prevails under heaven, then show yourself. When it does not prevail, then hide. When the way prevails in your own land, count it a disgrace to be needy and obscure. When the way does not prevail in your land, count it a disgrace to be rich and famous. The Master said, for those who approve of the way but do not carry it out, or who are stirred but do not change, I can do nothing at all. In the book of poetry, it says, the flowery branch of the wild cherry tree, how swiftly it flies back. It is not that I do not love you, but your house is far away. The Master said he did not really love her. If he did, he would not have worried about the distance. The wise man rises and goes at the first sign, and does not settle in a country until he has hovered. Zilu asked about how one should serve ghosts and spirits. The master said, until you have learned to serve men, how can you know how to serve ghosts? Zilu then ventured to ask about the dead. The master said, until you understand the living, how can you understand the dead? Zigong asked which was better, Shi or Shang. The master said, Shi goes too far, and Shang does not go far enough. Zigong said, if that is so, then Shi excels. The master said, going too far is just as bad as not going far enough. Zilu said, learning consists on other things besides reading books. Zhonggong asked about perfect virtue. The master said, behave when away from home as though you were in the presence of an important guest. Employ the common people as though you were officiating at an important sacrifice. Do not do to others what you would not like done to yourself. Then there will be no feelings of opposition to you, whether it is in the affairs of a government that you are handling or the affairs of a family. Zhonggong said, I know that I am not clever, but this is a saying that, with your permission, I shall try to put into practice. Zigong asked about what was necessary for government. The master said, sufficient food, sufficient weapons, and the confidence of the people. Zigong said, suppose you had no choice but to dispense with one of these three, which would you forgo? The master said, weapons. Zigong asked, suppose you were to dispense with one of the two that were left, which would you forgo? The master said, food. For from the oldest times, death has been the lot of all men, but a people that no longer trusts its rulers is lost indeed. Zigong said, when a wise man has spoken, a team of 4 horses cannot overtake his words. Zhichang asked how to cultivate virtue. The master said, to cultivate virtue, take loyalty and good faith as one's guiding principles and migrate to places where virtue prevails. Duke Jing of Qi asked Confucius about government. Confucius replied saying, let the prince be a prince, the minister a minister, the father a father, and the son a son. The Duke said, how true, for indeed when the prince is not a prince, the minister not a minister, the father not a father, or the son not a son, one may have a dish of millet in front of one and yet not know if one will live to eat it. The master said, in judging disputes, I am as good as anybody else. What is necessary, however, is to influence the people to have no disputes. The master said, the wise man calls attention to the good points in others. He does not call attention to their faults. The small man does just the opposite. Jikeng asked Confucius about government. Confucius replied, to govern means to rectify. If you lead the people in a straight way, who will dare go by a crooked one? Kengzi asked Confucius about government, saying, suppose I were to slay those who do not have the way in order to help those who do have the way. What would you think of this? Confucius replied, saying, you are there to rule, not to slay. If you desire what is good, the people will at once be good. The essence of the wise man is that of wind. The essence of the common people is like the grass. When the wind blows, the grass will bend. Zizhang asked what a man must be like if he is to be called influential. The master said, that depends on what you mean by influential. Zizhang replied, saying, if employed by either the state or the ruling family, certain to win fame. The master said, that describes being famous. It does not describe being influential. In order to be influential, a man must by nature be straightforward and love what is right. He must examine men's words and observe their expressions, and bear in mind the necessity of deferring to others. Such a person, whether employed by the state or the ruling family, will certainly be influential, whereas a man who wins fame may merely have obtained his reputation, though having a misleading appearance. Anyone who makes his claims with sufficient self-assuredness is certain to win fame in the employment of either a state or a family. Once, when Fan Qi was taking a walk with the master under the trees at the rain dance altars, he said, "May I venture to ask about cultivating virtue and rectifying faults?" The master said, "An excellent question. To cultivate virtue, focus on what should be done first and make any reward a secondary concern. To rectify your faults, attack the evil that is within yourself, not the evil that is in others." Fan Qi asked about benevolence. The master said, "It is to love all people." He asked about true knowledge. The master said, "It is to know all people." Fan Qi did not quite understand. The master said, "By raising the straight and putting them on top of the crooked can be made straight." Zagom asked about friends. The master said, "Inform them loyally and guide them discreetly. If this fails, then desist. Do not court humiliation." Master Zeng said, "The wise man, by virtue of his cultivation, collects friends around him, and through these friends he promotes the good." Zai Lu asked about government. The master said, "Lead them, encourage them." Zi Lu asked for a further maxim. The master said, "Untiringly." Zhong Gong, having become steward of the Li family, asked about government. The master said, "Get as much as possible done first by your subordinates. Pardon small offenses, promote men of superior capacity." Zhong Gong said, "How does one know a man of superior capacity in order to promote him?" The master said, "Promote those you know, and those whom you do not know, other people will certainly not neglect." Zilu said, "If a prince of Wei were waiting for you to come and administer his country for him, what would be your first measure?" The master said, "It would certainly be to correct language." Zilu said, "Can I have heard you right? Surely what you say has nothing to do with the matter. Why should language be corrected?" The master said, "You, how boorish you act. A wise man, when things he does not understand are mentioned, should maintain an attitude of reserve. If the words for things are not correct, language cannot communicate meaning effectively. If language cannot communicate meaning effectively, affairs cannot be carried on to success. Therefore, a wise man considers it necessary that the names he uses may be spoken appropriately, and also that what he speaks may be carried out appropriately. What a wise man requires is just that in his words there may be nothing incorrect." The master said, "A man may be able to recite the 300 poems, but if, when given a post in the government, he cannot turn his merits to account, or when sent on a mission to far parts, he cannot answer particular questions, no matter the extent of his knowledge, of what use is it?" When the master was going to Wei, Zan Yu drove him. The master said, "What a dense population." Zan Yu said, "When the people have multiplied, what next should be done for them?" The master said, "Enrich them." Zan Yu said, "When one has enriched them, what next should be done for them?" The master said, "Instruct them." The master said, "If a true king were to arise, within a single generation, virtue would prevail." The master said, "Once a man has contrived to put himself aright, he will find no difficulty at all in filling a government post. But if he cannot put himself aright, how can he hope to succeed in putting others right?" Duke Ding asked if there were any one phrase that could be used to save a country. Confucius replied, saying, "No phrase could ever be like that, but there is one that comes near it. There is a saying among men, 'It is hard to be a prince and not easy to be a minister.' A ruler who really understood that it was hard to be a prince would have come fairly near to saving his country by a single phrase." Duke Ding said, "Is there any one phrase that could ruin a country?" Confucius said, "No phrase could ever be like that, but there is one that comes near to it. There is a saying among men, 'What pleasure is there in being a prince unless one can say whatever one chooses and no one dares to disagree?' So long as what he says is good, it is of course good also that he should not be opposed. But if what he says is bad, will it not come very near to his ruining his country by a single phrase? The Duke of Xia asked about the signs of good government. The master said, when the near approve and the distant approach. Fan Chi asked about true virtue. The master said, in private life, be courteous. In public life, be diligent. In relationships, be loyal. This is a maxim that no matter where you may be, even amid the barbarians of the east or north, you may never set aside. The master said, the truly wise man is easy to serve, yet difficult to please. For if you try to please him in any manner inconsistent with the way, he refuses to be pleased, but in employing the services of others, he only expects of them what they are capable of performing. Foolish people are difficult to serve, but easy to please. Even though you try to please them in a manner inconsistent with the way, they will still be pleased. But in employing the services of others, they expect them to do any work regardless of their abilities. The master said, how can he be said truly to love who exacts no effort from the objects of his love? How can he be said to be truly loyal who refrains from admonishing the object of his loyalty? The master said, to be poor without resentment is far harder than to be wealthy without arrogance. The master said, do not be too ready to speak of things, lest doing them should prove to be beyond your powers. Zilu asked how to serve a ruler. The master said, never oppose him by subterfuge. The master said, a wise man is ashamed to let his words outrun his deeds. Zigong was always criticizing other people. The master said, it is fortunate for Chai that he is so perfect himself as to have time to spare for this. I myself have none. The master said, do not grieve that people do not recognize your merits. Grieve only at your own faults. Someone said, what do you say concerning the principle that injury should be responded to with kindness? The master said, in that case, how will you respond to kindness? You should respond to injury with justice and respond to kindness with kindness. Best of all, to withdraw from one's generation, next to withdraw to another land, next to leave because of a look, next to leave because of a word. The master said, a wise man can withstand hardships. It is only the foolish man who, when submitted to them, is swept off his feet. The master said, not to talk to one who could be talked to about the way is to waste a man, but to talk to those who cannot be talked to is to waste one's words. He who is truly wise never wastes a man, but on the other hand, he never wastes his words. Zigong asked how to cultivate virtue. The master said, a craftsman, if he means to do good work, must first sharpen his tools. In whatever state you dwell, take service with the most worthy of its officials. Make friends with the most virtuous of its scholars. The master said, clever talkers are dangerous. The master said, if a man does not continually ask himself, what am I to think about this? What am I to do about this? There is no possibility of my doing anything with him. The master said, a wise man does not accept men because of what they say, nor reject sayings because the speaker is what he is. Zigong asked, is there a single saying that one can act upon all day and every day? The master said, perhaps the saying about consideration. Never do to others what you would not like them to do to you. The master said, clever talk can confound the workings of virtue, just as the inability to bear small difficulties can turn great plans to chaos. The master said, when everyone dislikes a man, enquiry is necessary. When everyone likes a man, enquiry is necessary. The master said, to have faults and to be making no effort to correct them is to have faults indeed. The master said, from a wise man consistency is expected, but not blind fidelity. Confucius said, there are three things that a wise man fears. He fears the will of heaven, he fears great men, and he fears the words of the divine sages. The small man does not know the will of heaven, and so does not hear it. He treats great men with contempt and scoffs at the words of the divine sages. Confucius said, "When you see what is good, grasp it as though you fear it will elude you. When you see what is not good, test it cautiously, as though putting a finger into hot water." The master said, "By nature, people are very similar, but by practice, they grow farther apart." XIII said, "I remember once hearing you say, a man of high station, upon hearing about the way, will be all the more considerate towards his fellow men, and a man of low station who has studied the way will be easier to employ." The master said, Have you heard of the 6 sayings and the 6 degenerations?" XIII replied, "No, I have not." The master said, "Come then, I will tell you. Love of benevolence without love of learning degenerates into foolish simplicity. Love of wisdom without love of learning degenerates into licentiousness and idleness. Love of trustworthiness without love of learning degenerates into villainy. Love of uprightness without love of learning degenerates into harshness. Love of courage without love of learning degenerates into rebellion. Love of strength without love of learning degenerates into recklessness." When Liu Shihui was the chief official, he was 3 times dismissed. People said to him, "Surely you would do well to seek employment elsewhere." He said, "If I continue to serve men in honest ways, where can I go and not be 3 times dismissed? If, on the other hand, I am willing to serve men by crooked ways, what need is there for me to leave the land of my father and mother?" The disciples of Zixia asked Zhixiang about human relationships. Zhixiang said, "What does Zixia tell you?" They replied, saying, "Go with those it is proper to go. Keep at a distance those whom it is proper to keep at a distance." Zhixiang said, "That is different from what I have been told. A wise man reveres those that excel, but finds room for all. He commands the good and pities the incapable. Do I myself greatly excel above others? In that case, I shall certainly find room for everyone. Am I myself inferior to others? In that case, it would be others who would keep me at a distance, so that the question of keeping others at a distance does not arise." Zixia said, "He who from day to day is conscious of what he still lacks and from month to month never forgets what he has already learned may indeed be called a true lover of learning." Zixia said, "Just as the 100 apprentices must live in workshops to perfect themselves in their craft, so the wise man studies, that he may improve himself in the way." Zixia said, "A wise man obtains the confidence of those under him before putting burdens upon them. If he does so before he has obtained their confidence, they may feel that they are being exploited. It is also true that he obtains the confidence of those above him before criticizing them. If he does so before he has obtained their confidence, they may feel that they are being slandered." XIII said, "The students and followers of Zixia, so long as it is only a matter of sprinkling and sweeping floors, answering summonses and replying to questions, coming forward and retiring, are all right, but these are minor matters, and they are left ignorant of what is essential. How can they be acknowledged as sufficiently taught?" Zixia, hearing of this, said, "Alas, Yan Yu is wholly mistaken. Of the way of the true wise man it is said, if it be transmitted to him before he is ripe, by the time he is ripe, he will be weary of it." Disciples may indeed be compared to plants and trees. They have to be separately treated according to their kinds. How can the way of the wise man be such as to falsely accuse any of them? It is only a divine sage who could embrace in himself both the first steps and the last. I hope that you have enjoyed the recitation of these sayings. If you enjoyed any, or if you think that there were some sayings from the Analects that should have been included here, please let us know in the comments. Our next discussion will cover the sayings of Mencius, Confucius's student who did the most to expand, clarify, and elaborate upon the teachings of the master. Please join us again to learn from the words of that sage.